Epic. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com, right? We're .com. I think that's what we are. Yeah, kind of a funny start to that video. So people on YouTube are like, what the hell are they doing over there? Anyway, I'm going to put the YouTube. Oh, I can hear the echo. So I'll put the YouTube on mute. But anyway, it looks like we're rocking and rolling. Hey, there's an interesting post, and actually, if anything, this is exactly what I want to see to mark a bottom. Somebody in the YouTube page doesn't identify themselves, just as Bitcoin is DED. So classic sort of, I don't know whether that's a hallmark of our 21st century Twitter world, but they won't even fully spell out dead. They just short form it DED. The irony of it all, and actually it's interesting. We do a daily video on the site, the Daily Brief, which is so funny because we call it the Daily Brief, but I think one of the episodes this past week was like 2.5 hours where I did the bond market. we did the whole bond market from top to bottom, and it took me forever, but it was a good little piece. But anyway, so Alex, our show producer, director, and all around awesome dude, always, informs me that we have to start from the start page, the land, so this is our dashboard page, and that's how we're starting this. But actually what I did, and it was interesting because I like to do these Sunday shows following the level 1 class. And frankly speaking, I actually like to just sit and listen to our TA, actually our instructor, beg your pardon, Grim, does fabulous job with the level 1ers, and I even learn new stuff. Keep in mind, I've been at this 30 damn years. You're always learning new stuff in this game. Always, always, always. And I actually do like having additional instructors on the TRI team. I think I put a tweet out the other day saying, like, we have 10 people now on our sort of TRI team. So, I mean, it's getting pretty big. But I really like the fact that we've got veterans like Thomas and Graham and stuff who are directly applying the information, make money from trading, and being really good role models and mentors in the public. It's just, it's so awesome. But anyway, so hugs and kisses, Graham, and I see you down there in the lounge. Great job today, as always. We got so much to talk about with what's going on in Bitcoin, of course, that to try and keep myself focused, I actually went and pulled down screenshots of everything I actually want to talk to you guys about today. So that way I stay focused, because a lot of times what ends up happening is I'll get distracted by a shiny object and I'll spend like 20 minutes, half hour going off on some crazy ass tangent. And, I can only talk for so long when you guys start tuning me out. And somebody says, we like your tangents. No tangents. We got to stay focused. Focus. So I've actually gone, and somebody in the lounge earlier was like, bro, where's the damn Broiler Chicken Show? Come on, Brian, come on. And I'm like, look, I want to put together a nice solid package here. So I took a little extra time today after the level 1 class was done. Again, great job, Grim. And do a little dovetail. There was a couple of comments in the level 1ers, and I actually like to do this just to try and help. I saw questions, and maybe I'll, walk through a concept that they talked about and had questions about in the class today. So hopefully it's a nice dovetail for the level 1ers, where they get like sort of a double dose of really good information for them. Okay, so again, don't go off on tangents. Stay focused. So, I can completely understand that you guys are probably, in the investing public. And what's actually interesting about this YouTube video is, geez, we're getting like hundreds of hits on a weekly basis for this free show. So obviously there's a bunch of people watching this over on YouTube. That's great. It's not a bad idea. And, actually, like I said, the team now is 10 people. So, when it was just Brian, and even Brian with Julian as sort of a part-time partner, we gave away the products, and I really didn't like to shill. I didn't really sell the products or anything. We've got a fairly robust team now, and that's including babies and stuff that actually really drive the show, right? And so my marketing guy, Albert, and has done just a fabulous job sort of, sharpening our focus and putting all the tools in place. He said, Brian, don't feel badly about marketing, or, I'm not going to use this word shill in particular, but, so, take it for whatever it's worth. It's important that, being Black Friday and Cyber Days and all these kind of stuff, we are, participating in this. In past years, I wouldn't do this kind of stuff, but, this is a corporation now, so we have to think about the team here. And it's important that I just convey to you guys that, if you are sitting on the fence, we do have a really, really good deal that we're bringing to the public for people who are interested in taking the course, basically getting it at about 66% of the price. All 3 of our modules for the price of 2. And as well, if you're sort of thinking about whether you want to join the school or join the site, or maybe a lot of people join the site. And then, I even had a message this morning. Somebody was just like, okay, I'm totally, thank you for this discount, and I'm going to take advantage of that. So a couple, Black Friday, Cyber Monday things that I just had to mention right off the top of the bat. And feel free, therationalinvestor.com, Black Friday 2018, pretty straightforward. If you'd like to learn more about that, I'll put that in the YouTube page. Please don't beat me up. I mean, I don't like to aggressively shill, all those kind of things. But at the same time too, we are running a small business here. So having said that, hopefully Albert is happy with my presentation and it wasn't too abrasive for you. So, okay, let's get on to the markets. I think, the important thing that we should talk about is we actually published, I put out on Twitter this chart probably a week or 2 ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, on the very important breakdown through this key psychological, especially the closing low levels here. This is OKCoin. And remember, OKCoin had a little bit of a brain fart there back in the spring. And that was the you liquidate me, I liquidate myself event level. So that was pretty important. And ironically enough, I actually think OKCoin had to trade back down to those levels to clean up those positions. I think they artificially brought the market back to relieve those concerns about those people potentially committing suicide over this stuff. And keep in mind, if anything, maybe we should even take a moment and just simply say, look, this is just money, right? Your life is way too valuable. Your life is priceless. I've been through, I'm approaching 50 years old. I've been through, each economic cycle, and actually we'll even talk about this in Bitcoin in a bit. There's nothing new that's going on here, guys. I mean, this is just up and down. It is the market. And really, these cycles are about 5 years or so. About every 5 years or so, you find some asset that they're going crazy with. The great part about it is, of course, crypto here is a gift that keeps on giving because it's just such a fabulous growth story. And I don't think the growth story is done yet, but that's another conversation for another day. But the point here is that there will always be another bull market. There are bull markets, ironically enough, we'll even look at some markets here in crypto that are bull markets right now. And people are actually making money from trading crypto right now, if you can try and figure that one out on the long side. But your life is way, way, way too valuable. It's priceless. It's such a wonderful gift. So, and I've said this to the public repeatedly. If you need someone to cry on, if you need a shoulder to cry on, for heaven's sakes, please reach out to me. I'll spend the time just going through. And I actually tell people this, that, in a bull market, my job in creating one of these kind of sites is so easy. It's ridiculous. I mean, we just come in and we're like banging out doubles every day. Here we go, do what I said. And the community's making money and everybody's that's the easy part about running one of these websites and these services that I do. This right now, this is when I actually earn my money, where we bring people back down to earth. We talk about building trading plans, creating a clear, articulate vision for what it is you're trying to do here, trying to figure out what type of risk taker you are. And so that, defines what kind of setups you're hunting and time frames you're working off of. And then just, putting all the pieces in place to clearly articulate and execute that plan. That's really what being a successful educator in this space is all about, is equipping people with those tools. And through these kind of markets, we got lots of site people that are shorting these crypto coins and having a great old time. Mr. Bear out there, God, guys, having a field day right now. But that's another conversation for another day. The point is that now is when I actually earn my money for doing all of this stuff. Right now is when, like in level 1 class today with Grim, totally level-headed, calm, positive mental attitude. We don't ever put ourselves into a position where we're going to get wrecked or blown up. And just, good mentors, just keep a level head. And as I said just a moment ago, your life is way too precious. It's invaluable. It's priceless. There will always be other bull markets. Really, all you got to do is just give it time. So if you're in a tough place right now, reach out. If you can't find anybody to reach out and talk to, reach out to me. DM me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. You can watch fun videos of Liam throwing rocks in water hours on end if you want. After I do this video today, I will go and spend 6 hours with somebody who doesn't give a rat's ass about Bitcoin. He doesn't even understand. And the irony of it all is he might understand it. He might even understand it better than I do, but he doesn't care. And the only thing that matters is, and I even put out a tweet just the other day simply saying, that what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for Liam, this beautiful child in my life that I actually have the privilege to be able to look after. I'm thankful of the TRI team and these beautiful people, and trying to be a good mentor and leader for them. The money comes, the money goes. Yes, we did okay, and we're sitting in a very comfortable position, and we've paid all our appropriate taxes. Make sure to pay your damn taxes, people. Right? So, but the point is if you are in a bad place, and maybe we haven't set up plans, we haven't taken appropriate risk, whatever, you're in a bad place right now, please reach out to somebody and ask for help. And if it has to be me, then okay. I'm here for you. Don't do anything stupid through all this. So that's my general karmic message that Jojo wants me to pass on to you guys. Okay, now let's get on to price action and sort of quit with the rhetoric, Brian. Again, I went off on a tangent, but that's an important tangent that we all have to hear. Okay, so we had lots of sort of warnings. Like I said, I put this image tweeting out a while ago, so it's not like we didn't have warning that there was trouble sort of on the horizon. Interestingly enough, as of the moment that I took this screenshot, you can see 3 out of the 4 bearish harmonics that we were sort of looking for have been hit, and there's only one more really big one floating out there in the short term. And you can see that ultimately is about $3,100 or so. And it's interesting because that number, I think, is important, that 3,000 number, when we look at the next image I'd like to show you guys. So where do I want to go next? Which was the one I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this. I talked to you guys a little bit a while ago about the Bitcoin going through its sort of respective business cycle. The typical business cycle, the economic cycle is like 10 years. The business cycle is like 4 to 5 years. And I've noticed this pattern. So if you're watching on YouTube for the first time, or maybe you've seen this once or twice before, grab a screenshot of this, or go and grab the chart off of Twitter. And of course, if you're a site member, just reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to give it to you. But I think the irony of it all is that I actually, back in October, I was putting this image out. I've been sort of tracking this along as we go. So what does the Q4 2014 look like? And 2018. And if we sort of look at this, the previous Bitcoin cycle, I noticed that there was a bottom in 11, consolidation in 12, then insane face rip through 13. Following the Silk Road reversal, then 2014, and I don't have this zoomed out, but 2014 was basically a heartache, break the back of the bull kind of market. Interestingly enough, actually, I don't see as much, in a weird sort of way, I am seeing more negativity towards Bitcoin through this cycle than I saw in the 2014 cycle, which is interesting because to me, it really felt like, I guess, the 2014 cycle, it actually had a scandal that actually broke the back of the bull. And it was a pretty big scandal that could have literally brought this whole thing to a grinding halt. The Mt. Gox scandal. And if you were going to talk about, crypto as a fraud and it's a scam and stuff, like that's the kind of stuff that I would have thought would have been really prevalent. I'm noticing this cycle, and I have a feeling it's because the public is more involved. But I'm actually quite surprised at how absolutely negative, like vehemently negative, this sort of rhetoric out there is about Bitcoin, which kind of surprises me. Because if you actually looked at Bitcoin over the past couple of years, it's nothing really out of the ordinary except for basically the second half of 2017. That's when things went absolutely ridiculous. Everything disconnected. And of course, this is an unregulated market. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's somebody in charge of financial systems, we'll say, maybe political systems in certain countries that are very, very powerful and very large in the world. This is an unregulated market, and I think they saw an opportunity to make an absolute shitload of money, and they did. Which is kind of sad because, if we look at, just this sort of period through here and then the period through here, or, and I don't want to pull up, well, actually, why don't we just, you can even see. And here's a weekly Bitfinex chart. Is this kind of growth, is it realistic? Is it sustainable? The kind of growth just isn't sustainable. And it's interesting, actually, we go to this chart because the gold and the silver, I would make the argument, were the last fear cycle apex's sort of ultimate fear proxies. We lose all confidence in the financial asset system, which really was shocking. When I look back on this, I can't believe how incredibly predictable all this was. And the worst part about it, of course, is that I started to believe, right? I started, no, maybe this time it is different. Nope. Sucker. But, gold and silver was the last fear cycle. And what I mean by fear cycle is that every generation, you get these sort of economic disconnects, and especially if you have like a really big generational glut, you get, when that generational glut is young, there's a mad rush into the workforce. There's a mad rush into the economy. A whole bunch of people are making tons of money with, new jobs. Economies expand. Stock markets go crazy up. And then, unfortunately, of course, when that generation ages out, and they want to leave the economy, there's a mad rush out of equity. There's a mad rush out of growth assets. And there's a mad rush into things like fixed income and safe, secure assets that will pay for their retirement. Mad rush into things like annuities. Mad rush into things like hard assets. And ironically enough, we live in a world now, of course, thanks to our democratically elected politicians, that these governments are just very content with running deficits. And the way they justify it is if they grow the economy, then technically they can run a deficit and grow the economy. And the sum at the end of the day is zero because of the added tax revenues from the growth. But that means that the economy must grow. So if you have a situation where demographically people are pulling money out of the economy and the economy is shrinking, but the economy must grow because of these deficits, what's the solution? And the solution is to dilute the purchasing power of your currency. So what typically what in sort of the we'll say the 20th century response to that dilution of the purchasing power of your currency to keep the economy going, you had assets, classic assets like gold and silver, right? Hard commodities do very, very well. And I would argue that in essence, that's basically what we've had happen here through this cycle, where digital assets now are the new gold, right? And everybody talked at the top of the cycle, Bitcoin's a store of value. Bitcoin's a store of value. The problem here is, what is actual relative value? And as we said just a moment ago, is this growth realistic? Is it sustainable? And the answer is clearly no. And in hindsight, we can see that the market corrected that very quickly. I did find it fascinating, and my hunch is, and my feeling is, that we're probably going to follow the same sort of path that these commodity proxies followed following the end of their respective fear cycle. And here's the kick in the pants. This is what I find really interesting about this, is that if we actually pull up a cost of production metric for gold right now, and I actually put this tweet out a while ago, if we actually put out a cost of production for gold's sitting at maybe a, I don't know, 20%, 25% premium over what I would consider like the average cost of production. Some of the big players are around $800, $900, $1,000 an ounce, and gold sitting at about $1,200-$1,300 an ounce. So, you could argue that that's sort of their margin, that's their cushion, that's their profit margin. So they're very happy with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not massively disconnected, right? In like 1980 terms, the cost of production for these, was like maybe $100, $200 an ounce kind of idea. And the price was sitting at like $800 an ounce. And actually the cost of production was probably quite a bit lower than that too. So you could make the exact same argument with Bitcoin. I don't know whether you YouTubers, and I don't even, has anybody even heard from Mr. Penis Eater about his penis eating bet? I would really like someone to hold that guy to account. He's probably going to OD before he has to eat his penis. But there was a gentleman that came out very publicly through all of this, right? This insano nutso. And he said that he was in the business of producing mining Bitcoins. And he said to the public that his cost of production was about $1,000. So why would we not believe him? And, I usually, sort of a rule of thumb, if somebody tells you their cost of production is 1,000, probably their cost of production is like 500, 600, 700, and they just want to have some wiggle room. So if somebody actually did, and when he made that statement, of course, price was down here. So why would their cost of production change dramatically? I don't think it really has changed a heck of a lot. And I remember this is exactly the same thing that happened through the last cycle, right? Remember, these cycles are no different. This is what really bugs me about all of this, is there really isn't a heck of a lot of difference of what's going on here. It's the same poop. It's just a different pile. So, I've made the argument that we can very easily see Bitcoin come right back down to sort of their average cost of production. And I heard people, saying, no, the cost of production now is like 6,000. No, it's 8,000, right? Stuff like that. Now what we're seeing, and everybody's seen, of course, those images on Twitter and stuff of the Chinese mining firms just dumping hardware out into the streets. Shane's here in the lounge. I would love, and Shane, Riza, and Andrew and stuff, like, you guys should be working on building a monster mining operation. Seriously, guys. Yeah, totally. Take advantage of the weakness. And now with prices knocked back down, and could we go a little bit further? Sure. As we said, there's, other AB equals CD targets floating out here that haven't been hit yet. I would make the argument that they've taken the fluff out of the market, and on a lot of these sort of public broadcasts that I do, I just simply say, you want a nice simple rule to keep you honest in this game. Just put yourself on a nice dollar cost averaging plan and say, I will not buy unless we are at or below the reload zone. And actually, there's somebody on the site, one of our computer programmers, the computer programmer, I won't say his name because he hasn't accepted the role, but he actually is doing this, right? Dollar cost averaging. And he said, I went and spent a big $50 today. I bought another whack of Bitcoin. And I love that. Because really that takes timing out of the equation. And ironically enough, he actually woke up this morning and he's like, right on, I got it cheaper. I was totally going to go buy it today and I was going to buy it at this higher price. And now I got it a little cheaper. So the irony of it all is if you put yourself on a dollar cost averaging plan, you say, I'm not going to buy unless it's at or below the reload zone. Then you're just nibbling away nice and slowly. And gee, man, you just got a wicked discount here today. When we talk about levels, right, I thought this was really interesting this week because, and people on YouTube, okay, Brian, just give me some information that I can use to trade with, damn it. What we really need to look at here, right, and this is a weekly price chart, right, is that these are back and forth battles, and this is on a weekly basis, right? And we know that this was a bull, right? Rah, bull. We also know too that, and I remember this from my prop days, and that's why I talked to you guys about Mountain Man. And I remember from my brokerage days, working order books. We know that you can lose your job working on a trading desk, chasing markets. They absolutely hate that. And the institutional players, the smart money, right? They actually buy down markets. And quite often what we see is that they actually generate FUD to try and get the public to either panic buy up markets because they want to liquidate in size, or panic sell in down markets because they want to buy in size. And so when we look at these pivots, right, we had one here that basically developed last fall. We have to understand that, this is probably a level that institutional players, if they are long, probably where they did go long, and they have a vested interest in trying to defend that. Now, you can literally see, remember, this was Bitcoin Dad's testimony in front of the U.S. Congress back last winter. They basically brought the market right down against that level. And these guys said, what the hell are you doing down here? Get your ass out of here. Now, these counter trend rallies here, remember, institutions can't buy up markets. Conversely, they can't sell down markets. So maybe they were like, oh, geez, the story's over. We better get out. They had used this counter trend rally here to actually liquidate those long positions. But you can see clearly this reference point, this low right here, is hugely significant. And sure enough, right? Doink. Didn't even come back there. Doink again. Doink again. And after a while, right, all of the guys that are like, okay, look at, we've cleaned up our books, we're done. When what I usually find is it's like, like a good 3 or 4 sort of tests of that level. Basically the guys that were long there that wanted to defend that level, these were the opportunities for them to get out of those positions. And the market was just like, okay, we are now ready. And the interesting thing too, is we could actually make an argument that this is going to be a massive support and resistance level going forward. Because now, and it's interesting because on our site Daily Brief, we talk about Backed and how they were building inventories and stuff. We actually could make the argument that they were also building inventories for their clients to short Bitcoin. And so now this is going to be a level, of course, that they're going to want to defend so that their clients don't go underwater on their shorts. So, and also too, if we do get back up into this area, maybe they'll cover those shorts, right? Long and short of it here is this is now going to be a massive battle line going forward. What once was support has now become resistance. I would make the argument, and this is what we say on our program is, all right, if you clear through key support, one of these sort of pivots, and this is a weekly chart, so institutions were buying these down bars on the dailies. If we go through one of those, our next job is to look left. So you look left and you go, okay, next key pivot is here. Hopefully that makes sense, right? This is the last time when the institutions actually did some serious buying, stopped the down move. They obviously had the public selling, so they have a vested interest in defending this level. Goldman level too. Was this the level? Yeah, because I think they came out just about this time and said buy Bitcoin at $3,000 or something like that, right? Wasn't that? I think that was actually this level here, though. Like that was this reversal through here, but I can't remember exactly. That's the irony of all of this. Like, on TRI, we literally are watching this 24/7. And the irony of guys is that that's only like a year ago. Like in market size, that's nothing. It's just like a blink of the eye. And I find it so sad because there's a lot of people, especially a lot of the new students that sort of piled into TRI at the very end of the cycle. They don't even know about these conversations. We used to have a guy on the site who was like a relative of the lady at Goldman Sachs, and he would just sort of spoon feed us. Hey, she's thinking this. Hey, she's doing that. She's, and people and that are on the site now. Riza, do you remember that time period? I always pick on Riza because he's sort of one of our latest victims. Yeah, you weren't there, right? So the irony of it all is, that wasn't even that long ago, and yet for a lot of people that are in crypto right now, especially all the people that bought up here, right? They're not even familiar with these conversations. So anyway, the point of the matter here is we're coming into another really important zone here. Just as powerful as this one is, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some back and forth. Look how long this level took to play out. That's a long time. So we've got another one here, and we might see some really nice back and forth. You can see this previous high. You can see how when they brought it into here, you could have very easily expected a counter trend rally back up into these levels. It did that right away. Again, look at this one. Total textbook right against those lows. There's that high of that bar right into there. I mean, it did it a few times. And I do know that there were a bunch of people that took long shots off of these levels. And at the very least, you should have been booking partial profits. And I think we've talked lots about that in the past. So the point that I'm trying to make is that if you look left, here we are back at another big battle level. So also, too, which is really interesting, and this is another thing why I love our site, is, more eyes mean we have more people watching for things. And I didn't even realize it, but somebody zoomed in on this weekly stamp chart and said, Brian, there's a gap there on the weekly charts. And I was like, what? Oh, you motherfucking... I mean, anybody who follows me on Twitter knows how much I love gaps, and people on Twitter love to go, "That's only a 50-cent gap. What the fuck are you talking about? You suck, man." It's like, what? A gap is a gap is a gap, as far as I'm concerned. At some point, it's got to get filled. But anyway, the point of the matter here is this is a weekly gap. I mean, a weekly gap. So tragically, we actually should have expected price to come down here at some point. You don't see gaps on weekly charts very often, people. You just don't. And what's shocking about this is actually, if you zoom in on this, I think there are two little cheeky gaps right up at the top of this node right here. But we'll leave that conversation for another day. Right now, we're battling with this key pivot right here. And you've heard Brian say, maybe you have on YouTube, maybe you haven't, I don't know. But wicks and tails love to be eaten. And especially if you could argue the Bitcoin dad tail, that was just asking to be eaten. And sure enough, nom 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 nom, right? And a lot of these like altcoins, they put in these insane wicks, and market eventually goes up and eats them. So with the gap and this sexy little tail right here, and this tail's low actually corresponds nicely with that previous market structure breakout level, we're starting to come into some serious traffic levels here. No doubt about it. I think I've told the community, I'm not really the biggest fan of shorting. I don't know. I think it's really Brian. I mean, I love being long stuff. I love being long stuff that goes up in value when stuff goes down, being long put options in the stock market and stuff. I have such a hard time stomaching shorts. I could completely understand that there were short setups, and maybe that's where we should move on to next. This was I'm a big fan of the AB equals CD harmonic pattern. This is a bit of a bastardization. Like the classic use of the AB equals CD harmonic pattern would suggest that there's a potential trade location at this endpoint. It goes A, B, C, D. And classic harmonic people call it a PRZ, or potential reversal zone. I ran into a guy, and I don't even know, it wasn't a guy, it was a website kind of service, geez, maybe about 15 years ago. And they were talking about using AB equals CD patterns in a very unique way in sort of anticipating this happening, which isn't the classic way harmonic traders trade. Harmonic traders only consider the trade at the PRZ, but they broke down the potential for this AB equals CD to hit this D point, and just simply postulated what happens if we break the CD into quarters. We look to try and get in on 1/4 of the trade, entering the trade at 25 level, having your stop against this, which would basically imply that this isn't an AB equals CD anymore. And then gunning or using a profit objective of this point D point to take profits. And I liked it. I think, in fact, they had like a software package that you could buy that would print up all of these levels. As I worked through the years, there were some trading forums, they liked using this 66% level to sort of lock in profits and force yourself to trail stops at this point if you are short from here. Others don't like to use it. We talk about it on the site, but this is what I like to call my bot setup. In that, like I said, it produces a $1 of risk versus $3 of potential reward should you take the trade and see it to fruition. It's got some extra trading rules built into it. I won't go into that today, but the bottom line here is just looking at this simple OKCoin forwards contract, it had an objective of 3,800 and change here. And, for all intents and purposes, that was hit right on the nose. What I did find interesting last night was, of course, the sentiment in the space is just horrific, right? Bitcoin's going to zero. It's all a scam. It's all a Ponzi. This is Thanksgiving weekend, so all of the family is sitting around the dinner table laughing at Johnny and Jan. I don't know what's a good typical U.S. Daughter's name. Nancy. Nancy's a pretty popular name, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, Johnny, Grandpa, and Cheryl. Okay, Cheryl. Anyway, and you so know. Can you imagine what Jamie Dimon's Thanksgiving dinner table is like this year? Oh my God, I bet you the tension there, you could cut it with a knife. Right? He's sitting there just Susie and Sally. Okay, there you go. Is that his daughter's names? I remember they were all like, 1 year ago, they were making fun of Dad and his arcane monetary system, and now, of course, Dad's having the last laugh, which is a little bit sad. Because if we go back to Mr. Penis Eater's levels, and then we look at a price chart like this, the irony of it all is, even at $3,600 a Bitcoin, I don't think Bitcoin gives a rat's ass. This is where investing in commodities gets extremely dangerous, right? And why so many people got so chewed up in the gold and silver business, right? This silver market went up like this because two brothers said that they were going to corner the silver market. And the irony of it all is that there is a big US photography company that came out and said, at like $50 an ounce silver back in 1980, and said, "You want silver? We'll give you all the silver you ever want. Merry Christmas." And just dumped on him, Eastman Kodak. So this is why investing in commodities is extremely dangerous. And the only way that you can really determine value is and I know a lot of people absolutely hate me for this, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Bitcoin, what is the only thing that's going to keep Bitcoin going? And I would argue it's the miners keep validating the network. As long as the miners keep validating the network, then perfectly fine. All right? Bitcoin will just keep on doing its thing. And Bitcoin won't really give a rat's ass if it's 3,000, 5,000, 2,000, 15,000, 14,000. Bitcoin doesn't care. And that's actually, one of the things that really bugs me about this space right now, is that people seem to have lost the vision of why they got involved in crypto to begin with, like a lot of sort of public participation. This has all become a get rich quick, speculative, we're going to make $1 million if we buy Bitcoin, and nothing to do with the whole reason why we're doing this to begin with, right? We're trying to create decentralized systems where no third party can come in and just dilute the shit out of the currency without your permission. I mean, that's why I was attracted to Bitcoin to begin with. All right, that's the whole reason why I got involved in this space. So I'm a little disappointed that the whole crypto story has turned into just a big money grab. And what I find really interesting is there's one sort of dev that I like to follow. I reached out to him recently because we used to do some shows together. Brilliant guy. And he's just sort of like, Brian, I'm just laying low. There's really nothing for us to do right now. Right? Hey, we're going to make $1 million buying Bitcoin. All those people, they're being removed from the market. And unfortunately, they get very bitter. They get very angry. And so I can completely understand a lot of devs are kind of like, I'm just going to lay low for the next little while. Ironically enough, they got their developer cycle good and hard. But that's not supposed to be salty. Somebody on Twitter was like, "Oh, Brian, that's really salty." That's not supposed to be salty. It's not supposed to be insulting at all. Please don't infer that whatsoever. It's this, I think, is the market just doing what it does. Now, the great part about Bitcoin, kind of like did gold and silver really care whether they were, you know, 20, 30, $40 an ounce? Did they go anywhere? Did anything change about silver? What I found fascinating was back in the late 90s, I remember distinctly um, back in the late 1990s, I used to talk to mining guys, and they used to literally take the silver ore and not even process it. They used to have like, well, I remember one guy said he had like he was a principal at a silver company in Australia, I think it was, and he used to say we have like literally valleys filled with silver ore that we just never process the ore because it's just not worth it. And then of course the commodity cycle turned, silver prices went zooming back up, and they cashed in. So is Bitcoin going off the board? No. Why on earth would anybody think that? I mean, you know how much time and effort it is to take to actually build one of these crypto networks that's actually accepted? I mean, there's been so many man hours and women hours invested in these projects. You know, like there's one coin, and I know they're going to do well. In fact, there's a couple I can think of that their prices, of course, are getting absolutely destroyed right now, but the principles are all solid. They have a very good working product, and they're just slowly developing the product out. Is anything changed for them? Well, they're not talking about driving Lambos anymore, but they're going about just building their product. And I would make the argument back to this that really everything that's going on here is completely normal. If anything, what I'd really like, hey, I drive a Corolla. I could have bought an expensive car, but I'm a cheap ass. I went for the Corolla. And Liam really likes the drive. So, hey, don't knock me, Reza. I'm just kidding. Anyway, I would make the argument that we got to get through the hangover. Got to finish that. It's got to be done. Has to happen. Got to tear that bandage off. It's a pain in the ass. I know. Then we should probably go through a what I like to call sort of a bottoming period, right? And then a consolidating period, and then we'll go back to Lambo talk. And gee whiz, if I'm not mistaken, Bitcoin's next halving is like 2020, right? So I think, you know, Litecoin has got a halving coming up this year. Well, not this year. Not funny. I think so because TRI's year end is July, so my year officially starts in July. It's kind of screwy, but anyway. So this coming summer, and my hunch is that we have to get through the hangover. It's actually interesting. There's one guy on Twitter that I absolutely love following. I don't really give shout outs to too many of the Twitter people because I think, you know, a lot of it's just hot air. But there is one gentleman that I love listening to. This guy, I love the way he talks too. Patino? I don't know whether you guys follow him or not. But he used to, on his profile, he used to have a really cool roadmap of how he expected the Bitcoin correction to go. And I even sent out to him. I was like, dude, that was totally spot on. It was like perfect. And he took it down. Now he's got some cool little cartoon guy or whatever. But anyway, and he put out this tweet this morning that he thinks that we're into sort of the capitulation phase. I think he said capitulation in the next 8 hours. So, you know, you can definitely feel. I wouldn't be surprised if there's, you know, we are into that. It's extremely dangerous to call bottoms here. I definitely like the idea that Bitcoin topped a little bit earlier this year than the 2014 cycle. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually bottom a little bit earlier, maybe like, you know, a few weeks or something. But we're definitely into the sky's falling. Where's the bottom? Oh, you know, and what's so ironic is I actually I've been out on Twitter saying, where are all the Bitcoin zealots now? Now is actually when they should be like, this stuff's on sale. You finally have your opportunity to buy. Get in there and load up on your Bitcoins, right? trader, of course, I'm always going to be skeptical and follow your trading plan, take appropriate risk, blah, 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 blah. But, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm so proud of Stuart because I think he'll do very fine. But, those people that can just dollar cost averaging, you should look at this and go, damn, I just got my month's buy in a little cheaper, right? And you're kind of rooting for this thing just to swoon in here. So once a month you can go in, you buy it on a discount, buy it on a discount, buy it on a discount. I'm actually quite shocked. I got to tell you guys, I'm pretty shocked at how similar these patterns have actually been. And again, sort of, we have, about a year of just absolute bloodletting. Then we have about 6 months or so of, is this the bottom? Is this the bottom? Is this the bottom? Is this the bottom? And of course, we have the Litecoin halvening, which actually marked the bottom the last time, coming up here next summer, right? So maybe that's the catalyst that, sort of sets the tone, changes the tape, and we start the whole game all over again. And, rule of thumb, I'm not saying it's going to play out this way, and obviously there are some disconnects here. But rule of thumb, typical bear market's 18 months in duration. So really, there's nothing really out of the ordinary here, guys. It's painful. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's definitely painful, but very normal. And if anything, you can see on these gold markets, they went down an awful long time. Then they had nice snapback rallies. This is what I'm expecting sort of our next bull market to look like. Whether you're going to make a shitload of money on Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, I don't know. We obviously want to see W's come in. And the great part about these things is that, they have built-in inflation. So at some point, these things are going to W, and they'll start the whole game all over again. But you can clearly see there aren't any W's yet. But what I find fascinating is that, and I think this is probably where I want to sort of lead the conversation to today. Okay. I don't know. Maybe somebody on YouTube tell me, do we want to do a technical analysis lesson here today? Because actually we were even talking about this in the level 1 class. There's a really good signal. You can't make the argument that Bitcoin didn't tell you, hey, there was trouble coming, and if you were bullish, you should have hopped off. So why don't we do that? We'll just take a couple minutes and we'll just review what I saw on the charts. So, this is before the big dump, right? Price is sitting, in the 4,000s and et cetera. And what I found really interesting was that Bitcoin price actually went and tried to make new highs. Well, actually not tried to. It did make new highs. And, of course, we all know who that guy is. Good old 61.8. That's Mountain Man. And it was the POC. So we got up into that area. But this is what I really want, the public to see, is that you'll notice that as price pushed up into this level, if we look down at our indicators, we see that, yes, price made a new high here, but our indicators did not. And that had to be a big warning sign. So you could make the argument that this thing actually started to spit up, hey, I'm failing, and you better be careful when the momentum, and this is a MACD histogram, it's a fairly simple, what's the word I'm looking for? Technical analysis tool. You can put on all of your charts. Some sites, especially if you're using like the Forex platforms and stuff like that, getting the MACD histograms sometimes a bit of a pain in the butt, and they actually draw it incorrectly. So be careful to make sure that you're doing the histogram correctly. But nonetheless, this is off a 930, slightly modified MACD, but hopefully everybody can see that price went to new highs, MACD did not, and then MACD actually came down the histogram and broke this, forming a really big M in the momentum. This is a price momentum oscillator. Oscillator? No, I'm going to refrain from the word. Well, the histogram technically, Yeah, oscillator is a tough one, right? Oscillator, we would want to use something like a RSI or Williams percentage R, something that has a minimum and maximum reading. MACD doesn't technically have a minimum or maximum reading, so I don't know whether we can really use the word oscillator. But, and I'm off on a tangent. I don't know why I'm having this debate with you right now. But the point here is that you should be able to see this M in our price momentum indicator. This is a raw momentum reading, in essence saying, hey, if you're a bull, you better cool your jets. And we have just a simple rule that says once the divergence comes in, just if you want to get short, hunt market structure. And I think the market actually gave you a pretty good fail level there. If we change this to a line chart, hopefully, and you should be able to eyeball that. Hopefully you can see the M. So huge sell there. You know, the aggressive traders might have hunted for this really nice harami right there. I don't know whether that wick is above the body. Call it an inside bar, anything you want. You could argue there was an M right up in here with a fail level there, and that counter trend rally gave you the opportunity to get in on that M. You could have taken this M. The point of the matter here is there was lots of sort of ME type action following this MACD momentum failure. And we could even argue that the OBV indicator, you can see the M there, and M's coming in on our oscillator. This is our Williams percentage R, highly modified Williams percentage R, but nonetheless, you know, suggesting like Davo momentum signals. And so first lesson, if you're a bull and you see a big M come in on your histogram and confirm this point right here, you can see it's lower than this point, confirmation of the big M. And notice it's not dependent on just the zero line. This happened to come in, and this is the question that we had in our level 1 class. Does this M, for us to be usable, have to develop off the zero line? In this case, it didn't. Just the M came in when it came in. And then what was really cool is that, and you know, the level oneers, and this is a tough concept to teach, is this concept that I call volume impetus, where we just simply want to ask who's driving the bus at any given point in time. So you can see the bulls clearly tried to wake up here, and you can see the W in the OBV indicator. Bulls went, hey, I'm here, look, I'm here, right? And then after this point, we got to go, okay, well, are the bulls then going to fall back asleep? And the bear, because the bear, of course, is saying, hey, I'm here, look at me. And sure enough, one high, two highs, three highs. This is sort of our signal that if we see any kind of volume bar from the bulls that is less than these lows, and this is the level I think I'd want to concentrate on, between second high and third high, then that will mean that the bull basically has fallen asleep and that the bulls have lost interest. And you can see putter, 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 and then boom. This little green bar here and this one here are lower than that bar's low there, in essence telling me the bulls officially lost interest. On the, you know, and look at the price action, right? You can see the market's trying to push higher here. The bulls just didn't show up. And as soon as the bears sort of sniff out that, hey, the bulls have just lost interest, now we have to ask, right? At this point, you can see the indicator is slowly rolling over. We just simply ask, are the bears now going to wake up and take over? And on this bar right here, you see this big red chunky bar. It's higher than all of these red bars. In essence, like you can see the red bars, they go down, then they come back up, then they pause a little bit, pause, come down, and then boom, the bear just woke up. And that was basically on this dump candle here. So, and again, you know, our M's, right? We're kind of thinking we want to be short from this area anyway. So it looks to me like the bulls had sort of their last hurrah. Okay, bulls, what are you going to do? Are you going to run? You can see there's a little bit of a div that was trying to come in here. Are you going to run? Are you going to run? They just didn't show up. No volume where whatsoever. And then the bulls sniffing trouble. Boom. See you later. And of course, the rest is history. Down she goes. Great example of that bullish bulls falling asleep, one high, two highs, three highs, and then gone to sleep right here. And then the bears waking up in the face of that and taking over. Now, when we look back in hindsight, what do we see now? So that was that event where the bears took over. You could argue an even bigger M. Up, down, up, volume impetus, and then boom, down we go. So what sucks about this is I think this was fairly well telegraphed. No doubt about it. If you were a bull through all of this, you better have been taking some profits. And I remember we were talking about like day trader setups, mountain man levels hit. And this is something that I got into trouble with you guys a week or two ago. I don't think it's in the YouTube's best interest. Like the guys on the site, we talk about day trade setups all the time. So, they might see me down on like a 5-10 minute chart going, hey, look at that, mountain man, and then move stop to, sell half at your profit objective, move stop to scratch on break even. I don't think I'm doing you YouTubers any favors going down to those lower time frames because that's just going to confuse the hell out of you guys. But I will sort of leave it at this 30-minute chart. You can see the range here, right? Market peaked, came down, rallied up into mountain man. Bear divergence fires, bears wake up, bulls fell asleep. So the worst part about this is that actually this really wasn't terribly untelegraphed. Can you say that? Not telegraphed? I don't know. It was pretty well telegraphed, right? And I do remember about mid last week I was like through here. I was like, we had like a small gap on Phoenix or something that was hit. And I was like, okay, well, we got a gap fill. Can we form some sort of bottom in here and I can get bullish? And you can see that, they tried to. The divergence came in on the push up here, which not good. And of course, the push up here was on no buying interest, not good. And so it fell apart and down we go. As I said, and the cool part about it is on the site, we actually had people that are like, oh, I totally nailed that bearish bot, man. I'm the man. Woo! I didn't take this trade because the way I do my bot setups is I need to see 3 highs to risk against, and I just didn't have it come in. Which sucks because, like I said, there was and just that 30-minute chart trade, right, was the failure of this consolidation right in here. But as of this point now, I've got to say, look at, we're coming into weekly levels, right? We're into this zone here. This was a weekly gap of all things. Couldn't believe that weekly gap. And hats off to the site people for seeing that. That bearish AB equals CD objective, look at the wild price action around this. And I'm saddened in a little bit, right? Because I do know that there probably were public figures that came out and shorted this. And the market's just messing around with their heads right now. A guy like me, I've got to see some sort of consolidation develop here before I can either think bullish or bearish. And the interesting thing when I look at this OK coin is, holy Jesus, the profile just looks like Swiss cheese. So at some point, this market will bottom and we'll actually have to start working back up and filling in all these holes on the upside. I don't know whether that's today. Like I said, some of these crypto OGers are talking about, today is the capitulation day and they're looking for sort of one more big dump down. I don't know. But for a guy like me, considering we're coming into that weekly support level, we just hit that really well-defined weekly bearish bot objective on OK Coin. I'm seeing some pretty insane price action right here. If anything, I just got to let things settle down. I had even put out a tweet yesterday through here that I didn't really have any bullish divergences forming. So I couldn't really hunt longs. And of course, the short bot had already played itself out. So, if we just look at this profile, and I think, is this OK Coin? I can't remember. Yeah, it is. If we just look at this sort of lower time frame, look at the profile, you can see there's a huge hole in here. So could we have some back and forth here and play around with this mini POC? Absolutely. And I don't even have anything from my momentum indicators yet to really sort of frame what I should be doing. And what it looks like to me is that they said, all right, let's goad a whole bunch of people into going short. And boom, they just bitch slap them. And that happens a lot in trading. So try and, yeah, that's a nasty one, eh? I mean, they just really punish them. So, let this set up, right? I loved how beautifully well telegraphed this was. This is actually pretty clean cut. Right now, oh boy, this is a mess. It's just there's no real solid bullish or bearish divs right now. I see a stopwash. I see sort of a sucker's play to get people to go short and then bitch slap them. And this profile looks like it needs to do some work here. And also, to think about this way, when we come back from the weekend, are the Chicago boys going to want to be left behind? Like, I might make an argument that keep a real close eye on this low and this low and this candle body low, because that probably corresponds with sort of levels that the Chicago boys were following before they went away for the weekend. And I wouldn't be surprised, I'll just quickly show you that. That's stock market. Where is crypto? I got a crypto screen around here somewhere. This page. Yeah. So you can see there's a spread right now between the Chicago boys and the OKCoin futures markets. So, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to have to be some cleanup here. And the irony of it all is, of course, Chicago boys, they're going to probably produce a hell of a gap right there too, eh? So, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some back and forth, through this. Are we done yet on the downside? Way, for the investors, way, way, way too early. For the speculators, I guess you could make the argument hunting longs isn't such a terrible idea, but don't be surprised if it takes a couple stabs here for us to find the bottom. And, setups wise for me, I don't have any setups working just yet. What are Chicago boys? Well, Chicago boys play over in Chicago on the Bitcoin futures markets on the CME. So you can see the Chicago boys, they went out at 42.05. So, this market is going to just dump on its first trade, right, down into here. But you can see my hunch is that they're probably, it's tough to say whether it's going to be a trend line tag or whether it'll just be horizontal support and resistance. But my hunch is the Chicago boys are going to want to try and get short from in here. So, if the market gaps open lower, don't be surprised if we have some sort of counter trend rally to give them the opportunity to get short off of that structural level. Does that help? Chandla? Hope I didn't butcher your name. Sorry about that. Okay, so the only thing I wanted to finish off with you guys, what is sort of my expectation for altcoins here going forward? We're still in correction consolidation phase. And I don't really foresee this ending until sort of this Ethereum story starts to show signs of being washed out and finishing its washout period. Full disclosure, did I take this trade? No. And I know a lot of people on the internet were all pissed off at me for posting this chart. I never said I took this trade, but we did joke about it on the site quite a bit. Anyway, long and short of it here, especially if you look at the daily charts, this is a really nice market structure failure up here through a trend line support. Bot levels, move stop to break even, move stop to scratch, move stop to trailing. And it's interesting because in essence, this is a 1 week chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 weeks, basically 2.5 months. And really, there's nothing to do here. And if anything, I love this kind of image as sort of a testament to, how like real traders make money. And the answer is they get themselves into positions, they, work things like trailing stops, and they just let their money work for them. And half of the time, our job is just not to tinker, because we'll come up with 20 different excuses to get out of this trade. But as you can see, the irony of it all is the only thing to do here is absolutely nothing. And my hunch is that will continue. So, as for alts in general, I think the trend is still down. I know a couple of our OGs on the site like to follow things like altcoin indexes. We had Benjamin, if you're around, my Binance chart seems to have broken, and I can't get it. I can't get it to work here. I've obviously done something wrong. Not that one. So Benjamin, if you are watching this later on, can you reach out to me on the site, because I need your help. I want to get that chart back, but where the hell is it? This one. Yeah, I don't know, and maybe you guys, maybe you guys also saw this too. I wanted to mention this before. I can't get that index to load, and obviously with all the BCH stuff, maybe that's part of the problem. But anyway, the point of the matter is I know guys like Joshua follow these alt indexes very closely and do a lot of TA on them, and they're breaking down too. So there just isn't anything for us to get too excited about. It's a shame, because I was ready to get all nice and bullish again on this space. But as long as Bitcoin's still going through its hangover, I just don't see anything changing here. We did talk about, looking to take risk against this reload zone, but you can see that that's failed. So the trader has got to respect the fact that the market has failed and hop off. Boo, hiss, boo, but that's just the way it is. And considering the way that Ethereum chart looks, and so many coins are sort of related to this Ethereum, you could argue that half of this run-up was all this ICO market talk stuff, and a lot of course, it was function of Ethereum. And you could argue that there's probably a heavy tax loss selling overhanging burden here. So until that sort of played out, and also too, I've noticed historically Ethereum loves to turn through the end of the year. Did it a couple of years ago. In fact, we had one site member who famously made a bullish Ethereum call right at the end of the year and did very, very well on the trade. So I'm looking for this thing to dump into the end of the year. And so as a result, alts in general, I'm not looking for party there. But that doesn't mean there aren't little fun ones. Traders got to trade. I found it hilarious. And I even put a tweet out saying, I can't believe I'm actually running out of Bitcoin and into Doge to get out and avoid a crypto meltdown. I couldn't believe it. But nonetheless, traders got to trade. I like to position trade. I haven't gotten to the point where I've got a crypto swing trading model set up yet. I've been following them very closely. We'll talk to him in a minute. But I haven't seen any setups come in. So as a result, I've been very quiet about it. Whoops, that's stock market. Jeez, I keep going over there. Sorry, guys. Teasing everybody. Ooh, what's that? But I've got the swing trades on the screen. There they are. So here, the swing trader model is just working away, but I don't have any setups coming in here. So as a result, just a big hurry up and do nothing. So those are on the screen. I'm watching 4 swings on MEX. I'm not going to do broader market today, but we're watching and playing swings on the broader market lots. I like to sleep at night, and because Bitcoin's 24/7, as a result, I'm not really inclined to take day trade setups on Bitcoin and cryptos for that matter, just because of the 24/7 nature of the market. It drives me crazy. So I'm more than happy to trade the swings. And like I said, we had a swing set up here in Bitcoin, but I didn't have it set up for me. So I was frozen out, but had this given us nice 3 highs to work with, I probably would have hit this. But loving position trading. I had on 3 trades heading into this sort of mess a week or two ago. 2 got stopped out at scratch. 1 I had to take a loss on. It's trader's life. It's the way it goes. A few days later, this Doge setup came in. I'm in this. I'm more than happy to ride this out. We came really close to hitting my move stop to scratch level on the trade. So if we do trade up to 60, I think it's 61 sats, maybe it's 60. I'll do that. But for the time being, I'm just sort of sitting in the trade, just twiddling my thumbs. And if this thing has to back off because Bitcoin sort of calms down a bit and maybe goes sideways, maybe even rallies, imagine that. I'm perfectly fine just sitting here for the time being, not doing anything. But one thing I wanted to point out, which I found quite interesting, was as Bitcoin was doing its mess yesterday, keep in mind, this is a daily chart. We were in the lounge talking lots about this yesterday, how this guy was just sort of sitting there. And he actually went up and confirmed this W breakout yesterday and just sort of parked himself right up here through most of the day yesterday. And the irony of it all, as you can see, even today, opened up and pow. And it was so cool. I was so proud of our site because, most of the people on YouTube and stuff watching and just think that the site is Brian, but that's not the site. The site now is like, about 5 set. I think, I don't know what the actual number of site members are, but it's about 500 or 600. And hundreds of people in the school. Everybody's practicing, trading. And I was so pleased this morning to come into the lounge and see people saying, banging out doubles, banging out doubles. TRI, stop the bull again. Which I love, because in essence, right up here, these are all TRIers taking profits. Love it. Love it. So there is money to be made, but you got to be damn swift, right? You got to be quick on the trigger. You got to have your levels. You could argue, the traders probably hunting reload zones in here. Momentum players. I don't think we really got a great momentum signal here, but beautiful double bottom. Even if you took partial profits, I don't really care. I'm just tickled pink when I wake up in the lounge. And yeah, somebody even mentioned that on Twitter, said this thing's actually starting to paint a weekly W. Which I love. Now you can see that she left a little gap right there, right? So we don't really have a lot of business chasing up here. If you want to participate, I like the idea of just working your bids down against these gaps, right? Maybe even against this tail. Like what would be really cool is to drill down to like a lower time frame chart and take a real good look at the price action around that tail there. So there's lots to do in this space. Don't feel as though Bitcoin's going through the pooper. That means everything else is going down. And the irony of it all is that actually this is the first time in a while. We haven't seen this in a while, but this is the first time I've seen in a while. And a couple people on Twitter even sort of were commenting on my comments that we're actually starting to see some altcoins rally in the face of Bitcoin coming off here. So that's, in my eyes, actually is a interesting anecdote about how we're actually getting down into value here. And this move there's a guy who's pretty popular in this space that basically said that he was looking for like 3,700 or something like that on Bitcoin, wasn't it? He did like interview on CNN or something like that. I can't remember his name. I think he runs an advisory service, all that kind of stuff. And he was kind of saying that, below, say, 3,500 or so, he thinks that Bitcoin's undervalued. So go figure. And the simple fact that we see that some alts are actually rallying in the face of Bitcoin, like that silly Doge and Quark right there, just a couple examples of markets moving up here. It might be a little bit of a tell that maybe the Bitcoin swoon is getting a little overdone here. Okay, wow, we sure covered a lot here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. What do you think, Joshua? Do you think we gave these people some half decent value today? Yeah. All right. I think I feel talked out. Got to go give the boy a great afternoon. Try, if anything, guys, especially those people that watch the screen like 24/7, try and have something else in your life. Salmon. Thank you, Rob. Try to have something in your life that completely takes you away from crypto. The great part about autism is that Liam couldn't give a flying flute about Bitcoin. So in a weird sort of way, it okay, I'm not gonna say that, Kevin. But in a weird sort of way, have something else in your life, right? Bitcoin and crypto doesn't have to be your whole life. And hopefully some of the levels that I've talked to you about today are helpful. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. Oh, last thing I'll mention just one more time. We do have this Black Friday event, substantial discount on the school plus a year's subscription to the site. And for those people that would like to take the entire school program, we're giving you a pretty good deal. Basically, the entire course for the cost of 2 modules. So this is a teaser just for new people to the site. I know I had a lot of people on the site going, hey, can I take advantage of that? And unfortunately, this is just for the YouTube audience kind of idea, the Twitter audience that really would like a really, really good teaser to come and join our community. So if you're interested, please take advantage. We'd love to have you on board. And any questions, and for those people that are really stressed right now, even if you want to just DM me or whatever on YouTube, or Twitter. Where's the Twitter page, right? We got this crazy Twitter page, CR Investor, Brian Beamish. You can follow me, reach out to me if you want to chat. I'd be more than happy to hold your hand through this. I understand this is a really, really difficult time for a lot of people. I'm actually really disappointed in a lot of sort of the quote unquote professional traders out there who are actually being really dickheadish to the public right now and really rubbing in their faces. I think that's the last thing in the world people that have been in the trading world and trading community should be doing right now. I'm a little disappointed in them. So, please hear the message from me. We're not all jerks in this space. Some of us are trying to help you. And by all means, if you need a big old dose of PMA, you can always message me and tell me your story. And at the very least, you've got a shoulder to cry on with Brian. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed the offering. All the best. Good luck in following your trading plans. As that tweet that I put out recently said, why am I doing this? I think it's really, really important that we're always playing from a position of strength, right? Put yourself into a position where no one trade is going to knock you out. Be thankful for all the good things that are in your life, and I am very thankful. I absolutely am so appreciative of the team of good people that I've surrounded myself with here at TRI, and just be good. Okay. All right, everybody. Have yourselves a great day. Take it easy. All the best, and big smooches, and bye for now.